Hey, welcome back to the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast. This is Salvador Briggman hailing in from Miami, Florida. I've actually been living in New York City for many years of my life, and I recently moved to Miami, Florida. This is actually my 1-year anniversary when it comes to living in Miami, the sunny state, obviously the sunny city in Florida. Really exciting and really cool. Wherever it is that you're hailing in from, my goal with this podcast is really to bring on a wide array of people from many different states, many different countries, many different backgrounds, age groups, different styles of products. I want us to have something where you can easily discover, dip into the archives of this show and pull out an episode that relates with you, that resonates with you, and also discover practical tips, know-how, useful advice, tricks, tools, all that kind of stuff that goes into running a successful crowdfunding campaign. That is kind of what my mission is and why I started this show. The other thing, I guess, is to showcase you just stories of people and examples that are being successful every single week. I want you to come away from this podcast and being like, oh my gosh, like clearly this is absolutely a no-brainer decision to do a campaign. And the reason why is that, if you have been working hard on a product, if you've been working hard on a new project, I really think that sometimes what's holding you back is not only the know-how, but also just the belief that this is possible. So for example, today's podcast, I brought on an entrepreneur, a creator, an inventor who, also this is something that's not his full-time job. He's been doing this after work and just been super excited and passionate about this. He launched a campaign, raised over $127,000 on Kickstarter, and then went to Indiegogo, where he is now, and is continuing to raise funds for this particular crowdfunding campaign. This is for the Wilsdorf Collection miniature watch cufflinks. Also, honestly, one of the most unique products I've actually ever seen when it comes to kind of like accessories and like fashion, that kind of stuff. So today, you're going to discover how this individual was able to launch a campaign from nothing, attract more than 700 backers, continue to rocket forward with his momentum, ended up raising over $127,000 on Kickstarter. So we're going to discover and get into some of the lessons learned, some of the strategy, some of the tactics that he employed, things that he recommends you also doing if it's your first time. We're going to be getting into that in today's podcast episode. In addition, if you don't know, I love to put out education. Like to me, I would say that's, if anything, one of my biggest passions in life is to help people, to guide people, to help people along the path when it comes to providing courses and YouTube videos and podcasts and blog posts on my blog, crowdcrux.com. And I also have a great book out there called The Kickstarter Launch Formula. So this book is designed to take an incredibly complicated process, something that has so many different moving pieces, and to really boil this down into a simple to execute and easy to follow formula, which you can use in order to blow past your goal on Kickstarter, get the funding that you need, have a fully funded campaign doing a Kickstarter or an Indiegogo campaign, and have all of the know-how, all the steps, all the tricks, all the resources, the things that you need at your disposal. This is kind of like your passport, if you will, when it comes to getting to that next stage, moving past and opening that doorway to getting into that whole other reality where you then eventually have a 6-figure crowdfunding campaign. You have a bunch of backers, you got the funding you need to produce a product, and also you have tons of people, a tribe, if you will, that's able to then give you feedback on that product. You've validated the idea. You know this is worth your time. You know this is the start of an entire new business and brand. So if that sounds exciting to you and you really want like I said, the Kickstarter launch formula behind that, go and check out this link and you can check out the Audible version of my book. You can also get a free copy of this book if you sign up for a free 30-day trial of Audible. That link is crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter audio. That link again is crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter audio. Crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter audio will take you there, and you can learn more about this incredible asset, tool, and weapon, if you will, as well, I think, when it comes to doing your campaign. Without further ado, let's jump right in when it comes to this episode, discover how this individual was able to raise over $127,000 for more than 700 backers, and it's coming up right after this. Hey guys, welcome back to the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast. Today we have a creator on the show who has actually invented something really interesting, cufflinks that are fully functioning luxury miniature watches. Very innovative, very new, and this creator's already attracted more than 700 backers, over 100K they've raised on Kickstarter, and now they've gone on to In Demand and are continuing to raise funds. And we are lucky enough to have them on the show. Imran, welcome to the podcast.
Hi there. Thank you very much for having me.
Definitely, man. Maybe you could do this justice and just kind of describe a little bit more about your product for the listeners there at home.
Sure. It's to a lot of people, it seems like a novel concept. They are basically cufflinks that are also incredibly tiny watches that pay homage to some of the iconic Rolex watches of yesteryear. It's something that you really do need to have a look at to try and understand. It's very difficult to delineate them in words.
And how long have you been working on the product before it really came to fruition here?
It was all during the pandemic in 2020, as with a lot of great stories these days. I'm in the United Kingdom. So day job, I'm a plastic surgeon. In the United Kingdom, we have the NHS, National Health Service. And during the pandemic, the UK was particularly badly hit. My parents are elderly, so I stayed away from them for 3 months. And in order to try and forget about work, I kind of doubled down on my hobby, which is fixing up miniature watches, vintage watches. But of course, during the pandemic, no one's sending me watches to fix up. So I, just to while away the time, started making tiny versions of my Grail watches. And after I'd kind of painted the dials and got the old movements from kids' watches, I thought, how can I wear them? So I stuck them into old cufflinks. And my next door neighbor, he actually had a manufacturing factory that was obviously not functioning at the time due to the pandemic and there being a lockdown in the UK. So he went in on one of the days that he goes to check the factory and made these tiny little casings. I thought nothing of it for the next 18 months or so. And then I wore them home one day, and my brother, who's actually a watchmaker, for me, it's a hobby, for him, that's his job. He was like, "Whoa, these are really cool, man. Let's make them a thing." And that's how the Kickstarter came about. The response to it's been phenomenal. No way did I expect that.
It sounds like that. Have you always been fascinated with watches? What is it really that you enjoy about that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. This is my father gave me about 20 years ago now. He had a Seiko Pogue. Now, it's a very special watch, even though it's made by Seiko, purely because I can't remember the name of the astronaut now. I think it was Colonel Pogue, one of the astronauts, wore it into space as an unofficial watch because he trusted it more than his Omega. And when I found out about the history of those, these watches, they were, maybe selling for £200 back in the day, maybe £100 back in the day when my father bought it in the 60s. And now, they've kind of 10x, 20x value. It's just the mechanical watches, the intricacy, everything's so over-engineered and so well-engineered. So from a young age, I'll just take them apart and fix this. And, my brother's made it his full-time job. And he kind of picks up broken old Rolexes and Omegas and fixes them up. And I thought I'd do some of that whilst I was quarantined.
When you were, really thinking about going from just turning this into a hobby and really making a product out of it, what do you feel like gave you that confidence to be able to do that, given that that's not your day job, right? And it's also something that's very kind of a new thing for you.
Yeah, if I'm honest with you, I really don't know. It's kind of, I guess, in my day job, you end up being a bit of a risky personality anyway, right? So it's kind of the sort of thing that over the years, you've learned to take risks because you have to. No one's asked me that question. That's I don't know what made me. My brother just said it was a cool idea. Let's do it, and I ended up doing it. I'd taken some photos and stuck them on Instagram, And after that, I just started getting comments from people saying, "Oh, can we buy them? Where are they available?" Maybe that was the spur. I mean, I don't think there's one moment. It just kind of rolled on one after another.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So you basically got a little bit of initial feedback there, it sounds like, and also obviously your brother who has some experience with the trade. When it came to actually doing the project, what was the role breakdown like? Like, were you doing the design? Was he helping on the manufacturing side? What was kind of, who was doing marketing? What was like the role breakdown?
Yeah, so that was, I mean, it ended up being me completely, just purely because I took over. So I think the nailing the final design, that was all up to him, and he managed to, he kind of gave me the technical know-how, saying that these are the small, movements that you can use that will be perfect, and that's kind of where that was the extent of his input, if I'm honest with you, which is obviously very
so
important.
he was like, go do this. That's kind of funny how he started that, and then you kind of took the lead there.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's awesome, man. So you basically pulled this all together yourself.
Yeah, and it's I guess this is I mean, I would say to everyone that's listening, that's a really bad idea. But of course, you never know this before you actually start. You don't realize the kind of the enormity of the task ahead. I mean, it's running a crowdfunding campaign is a proper thing. I mean, I didn't take time off work. It's a sort of thing that during and I guess we'll talk about it later on, but I mean, I started getting, I think I've developed a peptic ulcer as a consequence. I've never had heartburn before, but you wake up in the morning thinking, So, I mean, we have lots more designs because at the moment I've only pumped out 4 of them, and I've got, a load more and a variety of different types. So I think that next time on, I will at least have my brother on board, and try and kind of divvy up a lot of the tasks as well. And, there's lots of companies out there that can help you. I would enlist the help of them.
How would this compare, would you say, the process of creating this and really following through with it and getting backers? How did that compare from feeling in terms of your normal work being a plastic surgeon? Is it kind of night and day, or do you have a similar satisfaction?
I mean, the satisfaction is definitely very similar, just because, with this crowdfunding campaign, it's an idea it's germinated, it's your baby, and it's come out the other side. I guess with the day job, it's something that I've trained in for the last 15 years, and more than that, even 18, 19 years now, if you count medical school. So it's, I guess at work, I deal with a lot of facial traumas and facial cancers, and there's a lot of autopilot involved, so I'm not really thinking. Whereas with the crowdfunding campaign, and especially if you're running it yourself, you learn so many different aspects of so many different things. Facebook marketing, Instagram marketing, Google Ads, Google Analytics. I mean, I've even learned to use an Excel spreadsheet. I've never used one of them before to budget. So there's a different satisfaction. There's a lot to learn, and I guess that if you're into that, if you have an entrepreneurial streak and you want to learn, a Kickstarter or an Indiegogo or a crowdfunding campaign, it's just a great way to tie everything together and kind of understand what it takes to get a product from a concept to an actual product that's out there.
Have you started or tried to start a business before when, maybe when you're younger or just in the past? Have you tried to do any other companies?
So yeah, I mean, I have another company as well. It's a med tech company, but it's that's a very a different process because you have I've got software developers, I've got designers, I've got a hardware manufacturer. So there are defined roles, and it's a lot slower long-term project. Whereas I mean, you know this. I've been reviewing your work, and you've been doing this for a while. The crowdfunding campaigns just snowball out of nowhere. I mean, they can very rapidly get out of control. And especially if you've got a product that you had no idea there's demand for. I mean, who would have thought? watches at a
It's
cufflinks.
so interesting and it's so unique. And I do imagine just like the night before you went live, just the thoughts that were going through your head. What were you feeling or what were you thinking the day before you went live with this?
So I remember the night before, I was actually a bit annoyed because I guess one of the problems that anybody who runs a business faces is that as soon as a customer even donates £1 towards a campaign, there is an element, especially in today's world, that they have every right to the business's time and energy. I'd read a couple of books, a couple of articles online, kind of previously about how, funnel marketing. So I tried some of that. And I did have a number of people who donated £1 in order to be kind of on the wait list, so they get preferential notice when it launches. And, like 99.9% of people are amazing and very supportive, but there's always that tiny percentage who just are very unreasonable, and they end up taking a lot of your time. So on the night before, that was the thing that was kind of annoying me. But I had no idea that kind of this sort of reaction would happen in the Kickstarter campaign. I had a message from Kickstarter saying by the end of it, you're in the top 1% of Kickstarters ever, and you're like, how did that happen? If I'd have known that I would be letting myself into that, in for that, then I probably would have been a bit more nervous the night before instead of just peed off.
So you kind of weren't sure, honestly, how it might go, it sounds like.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, I wasn't. I had a small inkling purely because of the amount of messages I'd had. And I'd spoken to, I guess, a number of marketing agencies, and some that, because I've used Kickstarter before, some big names, when they'd got in touch, you kind of thought, okay, obviously it's going to get some interest. But they always temper your expectations when you speak to them. They never say this is going to be a $2 million campaign.
Yeah.
They always say, well, we expect it to do well. But kind of mentally, I just wasn't prepared for how it ended out.
If you're worried about the fulfillment and shipping part of your Kickstarter campaign when it comes to getting out all those perks and rewards to your backers, rest assured I've put together a complete Kickstarter fulfillment and shipping checklist for you, and it's free. This is sponsored by the folks at Fulfillrite, and they thought that you should have this checklist as part of your arsenal going into a crowdfunding campaign. If you want to get instant access to this checklist and it's free, you can go to fulfillrite.com/checklist. Again, that is fulfillrite.com/checklist, fulfillrite.com/checklist. Just go to that link and you can download it immediately. Tell me the story of after the first week when you really started to collect and like look back on what had happened so far. What was that like? Looking, I don't know, maybe you were looking at your phone or looking at the dashboard. What were you kind of thinking after the first couple of days here when you start to actually see people taking action?
Yeah, it was bizarre, and I think that if you ask me week by week, my emotions did change. So the first week was like amazing response. It was kind of, you wake up every morning, it's like Christmas. You want to see what happened to the dashboard, how many orders overnight, and I had the alert set on my phone, and it's like, you just get alert after alert after alert just pinging, and the battery was dying because it's getting so many alerts, and that's amazing. And you kind of think, whoa, I've made something that loads of people like. There's the dopamine hit from that. There's the instant validation that you get. But I guess what happens then is your mindset is, okay, I need to continue at £8,000 or £10,000 a day. I need to continue at that rate. But that's obviously not what happens. I discovered that dreaded term, the mid-campaign slump. And you can go from really high to really low very quickly.
Yeah, I can imagine that could be stressful for sure. But even just having that connection with all these people that are coming in, I mean, that's so cool. And that's really people taking action, right? And really actually backing something.
Absolutely. And I mean, the comments were amazing. I mean, the first week, the first 10 days, everyone was so supportive. They were giving me ideas on, how to maximize reach. They were sharing on, I didn't ask people to share it. They were sharing on forums. And the only thing I did do is that whenever somebody asked a question, I would answer as soon as I could. And I'll take my laptop with me to work, or if I was kind of, shopping, etc., I'd answer on my phone. And I guess with that, people saw that there was a human on the other side. And I'll be quite honest in my comments. So I would kind of say that, whoa, this is amazing. The response is not what I expected. I need help. And people would offer their help. It was only, I guess, nearer, and I don't know what Kickstarter, and I mean, I haven't had much of this on Indiegogo, but I don't know what Kickstarter is going to do about it. But when you start getting some troll comments,
yes,
that is very difficult. And as soon as I guess, I'm a first-time creator, and it's my first campaign, and as soon as somebody comes to put doubt on other people's minds, and you see cancellation after cancellation, that is
what BS, right?
Yeah, I mean, and it's just like some of the comments are just ridiculous. And they ask, "Can you post videos?" So you do. I posted videos with an actual review of me going through the product, and even when they ask for more videos and they keep posting, I reported some comments to Kickstarter, and I guess that they review it over a couple of days.
Yeah.
But then
I do think that, I mean, it is obviously important when it comes to people wanting to make sure you're legitimate. But if you are satisfying those requests and you are posting videos, at a certain point in time, it just kind of gets to be that troll comment, right? And it's just kind of, it sounds like how it is. And unfortunately, that affects as well the perception, like you said, which is such a shame.
And it's such a shame. And I think that the fact is, sitting on the side, there's very little that you can do. I mean, you feel really powerless. And a lot of the people that had cancelled at the time of the Kickstarter, because I think kind of just pure cancellations alone, it ended up being like 15 or 20,000 pounds worth, which is a lot. And it was immediately after the troll comments, like all of it happened within the space of 3 or 4 days or something. A lot of these people then get back in touch afterwards saying, look, actually would like to put an order in. How do we do this? But it's kind of too late for the Kickstarter.
Yeah, understood. One of the things that you were talking about in a pre-interview was about this idea of having widely held beliefs around crowdfunding don't necessarily always apply. I was wondering if you could maybe provide some more insight on that one.
Yeah, so like when I was going through Reddit and just Googling loads of different articles and reading, a lot of people had said that, you must have £40,000 ready for $50,000 ready for marketing. Take out as many loans as you can in order to do that. That you're having marketing agencies, as many as you can. A lot of people who had run successful campaigns have said that this is how they base their actual campaign, and this is how it went. And use every newsletter that you can. Now, kind of running an actual campaign, I guess the thing that I did do was, and it's a widely held belief, which is true, is the pre-campaign. That's just getting your product out there. As long as you have a good product and you maximize exposure. A lot of people falsely think that advertising is kind of cheating people into spending money, but it's not. You're putting it out in front of them, and if it's a good product, it will automatically advertise itself. Now, I guess the issue that I had was kind of when people would say that you must put out X amount of money as for marketing. It's the sort of thing that unless you are quite well off and you have that money in reserve, it's a massive risk. Taking out a loan, there's lots of crowdfunding loan companies out there that they actually, and I was trying to calculate, they charge an interest rate of 60%, which is ridiculous. And a lot of people are taking those loans out in order to fund their campaign, which, pre-campaign is important, but the most important thing is having a great product that you can then put out in front of people. I mean, I am living proof that you don't need to spend thousands. I think in the pre-campaign period, I'd spoken to 2 crowdfunding agencies, and 2 of the big ones. And they had advised that, we spend between £8,000 to £10,000. So that's probably $15,000. And I kind of just said, I don't have that money. They advised me that they can put me in touch with a fund. And I said, again, that's, I'll speak to them. And I did. But after finding out the interest rate, I thought, no, that's not a good idea.
Which fund was that, out of curiosity?
I can't remember the name now. They're based in, I think they're based in Eastern Europe.
Okay.
I can't remember the name of it because I spoke to them now 6 weeks ago now. And I also kind of felt that when I was talking to him on the telephone, it's just the guy was like having dinner or something, and it just wasn't the most professional conversation. So I thought, right, I'll steer clear of that. But what I did do was put in the hard yards. So, I'm part of a number of watch forums, and I would stick my product on there with a photo and say, look, I'm developing this. What do you guys think? And the biggest thing was actually on Reddit, where loads of people were like, whoa, this is so cool. We would get that even though we don't wear cuffs. And I kind of, on the website, when people were signing up after looking at the product, I think I had about 200 or 300 people had signed up within. I'd only started kind of talking about the product a month before we launched, because again, I didn't think it would go anywhere. And I think we had about 200 or 300 people, and those are the 200 or 300 people on day one that then blew the target away. And of course, you then end up on the top of the algorithms on Kickstarter. You start trending on Google and Twitter. So that's what really kind of got us over the line and got us into 6 figures.
Do you think it was because of also the screening process you put people through, like asking them to put down a little bit of a deposit, right? Do you think that kind of helped with the turn or people?
Oh, absolutely. So that, when they say funnel marketing, it really, there's an interesting psychology behind it. So not only does it sort out people who are serious and those who aren't. I mean, almost everyone who put a $1 deposit in or £1 deposit ended up buying multiple items. It also kind of makes them part of a club. So I formed a secret VIP group on Facebook. And it was just for the people who'd put a deposit in. And I asked everyone to have a look at my page, to comment my campaign page, to comment on it. What can I change? It was so helpful. I mean, I owe these people so much. When you actually get feedback from real human beings who are really invested in your product, they will kind of write the page for you. They were telling me, this is what you should be talking about. This is what I'm interested in. And that's what I did on the page. And the page turned out being really good.
That's so cool. And you know what I love about that? That goes back to one of my things I believe in, which is co-creation, right? And not just creating something that people can buy it. It's really kind of creating something with people, and they almost feel a sense of ownership, right?
Exactly. I mean, this is, you've hit it. You're creating it with people. That there's so much doing a crowdfunding campaign. You realize, I mean, I may just be very naive, but I realize that there's so much more to a product. It's not really about the product at all. It's about manifesting people's hopes and their dreams in something. You're marketing expectations and ideas, and if you're developing with other people, you're almost shaping the narrative yourself for the product, and you end up. I mean, the campaign page, I think my initial one was so very different to what I ended up with on the Kickstarter page. And now when I look back at my original one, that I'd taken screenshots of. I mean, it was so awful. It was so bad. And the final one, like this is within 5 days of talking to 120, 130 people. The final one was just so very different. And I mean, you've hit it nail on the head. You're developing it with the people that are going to buy it. So you're giving people what they want, in essence.
Very cool. Very cool. So one other quick question I had here is, you mentioned this idea of getting eyeballs and traffic onto the page. For you, do you feel like this was all about the functionality? Was it about showing the use cases? Was it just the novelty of it? What do you feel like really got people's attention? Or was it just the beautiful design?
So it definitely wasn't the use case. So foolishly, I didn't take any lifestyle photographs. So I've got one of, I've got two.
I see some with that cat there.
Yeah. So that was later on that we used the cat. And again, I do apologize if people hear it in the background.
They're like crack cocaine on social media anyways.
Yeah, they are. They really are. So that was kind of, I ended up taking pictures of the cufflinks with my cat, who's called Gentamicin, and she has her Instagram. Purely because of the mid-campaign slump. So I was desperately trying to find a way to reignite interest. So it wasn't the lifestyle shots or the functionality shots that I'd taken, because they were very few and far between. I think in the campaign video, there's some of my brother using it on his cuffs. But I think it was more a mixture of novelty and it's a sort of thing that's not really been done that much at all, watch cufflinks, and the fact that they've been made to such a high standard. I mean, you can tell a couple of watch nerds came up with them. I mean, they replicate and I think everyone who's bought them are also watch nerds, and they could see that they replicate to a T all the details you'd find on the full fat versions. So I think ultimately that the interest just came down to the product itself. Because we had Yanko Design get in touch. I mean, Yanko are amazing. I guess if they like something, they then stick it on the web page and they get so many eyeballs as well. That helped. Bloomberg, I think, also got in touch. So all these things added.
Very cool. Very cool. So for you, what did this really mean to you? You finish off the campaign. You've raised £114,000, more than 750 people, right? And now you're in demand, and you're continuing to go from there. What did it mean to you to really have this success under your belt?
A lot of it's just the external validation that everyone says they don't need, but they really crave. I mean, it's if I look back 6 weeks ago, I'd made something that I didn't think very many people would be interested in, and now I feel the weight of responsibility that I'm going to have to deliver. I've already put the orders in to start manufacturing, and it's, there's still an active buzz around it. People are sending me messages over what they would like next. I mean, just as an interesting side point, the cufflinks themselves are priced around £70, which I think is $80, something like that. And I made two tiers that were £2,000 and £1,500 respectively. And so the average price is about $150 that people are spending. £150 that people are spending, but 4 people ended up spending £7,500 just on 4 orders. And I mean, I guess that this is, I offered personalized styles for the 1,500 tier, and the 2,000, they can have dinner with me, as well as discussing the future designs. Now, that sort of thing, you kind of realize that actually there's a community out there that are thirsty. They're thirsty for more engagement. They're thirsty for different products and different ways of manifesting products. And this sort of realization and the community that comes out of it is, like, honestly so heartwarming. It's not what you expect.
Yeah. And I mean, the cool thing is you're also making people look good, right, around the world, which is pretty neat.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And I mean, it's such a novelty. People are bound to get comments when they're wearing this out, which kind of just even spreads the word more, which is kind of cool. One of the questions I have for you. Oh, sorry. Keep going.
No. I was just saying I've worn them at work, and that's everyone, patients like grabbing them and having a look. So it really is something that just grabs attention.
Yeah, I can totally see that. Are you thinking of doing more products like this? Are you trying to build a line, or is this kind of like a one-off fun experience for you? What is your intention behind this?
So initially it was a one-off fun experience, but that now that I realize demand and the other ideas that, the other designs that I'd made along with my brother, we're just going to pump those out. We found a factory that we love, and they can help us manufacture them. And there are lots of, they were more complicated. So it's not just cufflinks. There are, tie bars, etc., tie pins, lapel badges that they can morph into. So that is something that I'll probably look to design. Most of the groundwork's there. The hard part is finding partners, manufacturing partners that can help you make the ideal product. So once those are, now that we found them, actual making more of them is the exciting and fun bit, and I'm looking forward to doing that.
Very cool, very cool. Where can people go to learn more about your campaign and also this in-demand campaign, which you're now running?
Sure. So all our information is available on creamypatina.com. And you'll be able to find links to our Indiegogo campaign, the kind of the history behind both of us and how we came up with the idea.
And I just have one or two more questions. I'll be sure to link that up in the show notes. So my second to my final question is, looking back on this experience, this has been a long time. You've been really persisting with this. What do you think really kept you going? Was it the desire to, just finish this and get it done? Was it to, help people around the world? Was it to really bring something new to market? What do you feel like allowed you to persist throughout this entire long process?
That's a good question. I can't, it's very difficult for me to answer this honestly, because I don't even know. When I'd made them initially, and when people started saying they were cool, yeah, there's an element of that. So I wanted to actually deliver on them and make, it's when you create something and you nurture it from being a concept to an actual real thing. I guess there's a buzz in that I feel. But if I'm honest with you, I don't know what's kept me going because, to be honest, I think the main thing is that I just did it and put it out there. And once it launched on Kickstarter, you don't have an option. You have to go out and deliver. And I think that's probably what's, once I committed to people, I'm going to stick on Kickstarter, I had to do it. And now that I've done it, I have to deliver on it. And that's probably the main push. Well said.
And my final question for you, and you can speak directly to the audience with this one. We can either end with a quote that you like. We could end with a message that you've gotten from someone in the past that's really helped you. We could end with a final tip or a bit of advice, a word of encouragement for other people out there that are getting started on their projects, anything like that. And we can end on that.
Sure. I guess that's very interesting. I guess the thing that I would say to people is that if you have an idea or if there's something you want to do, just go out and do it. When people say that, go out there and follow your dreams and your passion, that's great, but that's for rich people. Normal people, it's very difficult to go out there and live your passion or work your passion. But it doesn't stop you doing the things you love outside of work. And you can see how something that it's taken 2.5 years to get here, but I've worked on it very slowly at weekends, or whenever I felt a bit down, I worked on it. And look at the results. I didn't do anything amazing. I'm literally just a random person living in a 1-bedroom flat who came up with something that's gone into 6 figures and has become like a top 1% of Kickstarter campaigns. So it's, I would just say just go out there and do the thing you love, but don't quit your job.
Well said. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate it, and good luck with your remaining days when you're in demand here.
Thanks so much. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast. Again, my name is Salvador Briggman. Thank you so much for listening to this show. And hopefully you are walking away with some useful tips, some useful tricks, some techniques, some information that's going to actually help you when it comes to doing a campaign. Hopefully you found this to be practical and useful. And if you did, please leave me a positive rating and review on iTunes if you're listening to this there, or on Spotify, or give me a thumbs up on YouTube. Also go and sink your teeth into the archives of some of the other episodes and stories that we got out there. Literally, this is just like mountains and mountains and nuggets of gold that you are right at your disposal. You can listen to if you want to right after this show. Dude, I work so hard, and I really do try to bring to you high quality education because I think it is so incredibly important. However, I can't be everywhere. One of the great things about being a teacher online and being able to share information and wisdom and teachings and all that kind of stuff is that I can put out videos, I can put out podcasts, that kind of stuff. But when it comes to my time, it's getting so limited nowadays. I have tons of people reaching out to me every single day on my website, crowdcrux.com. I have people leaving comments on my Instagram now. I'm getting more onto TikTok. I'm getting people always sending in emails. It's almost like crazy, just the level of volume and activity that we have. So one of the things I've always wanted to do, though, is give people individualized, personalized attention. And that's really why I made and continue to do my individual intensive coaching calls. So these are incredibly hectic. We've got tons of people that are always booking, and from many different types of categories. And it's so exciting to be able to hear, from the horse's mouth. However, the podcast has changed their life, or the YouTube channel, or different books that I have out there. It's so cool to be able to hear that. But at the same time, these coaching calls are about being useful and being practical for you. Really bringing my library of information when it comes to crowdfunding and sharing that with you, tailoring that to you, and getting into the strategy that you need to do in order to be successful with a crowdfunding campaign. What do you got to do every step of the way? What are the things that you don't know? Who should you be knowing, right, in this industry? What are some of the tools which you can use? And even other people who are like, I don't even know if I should do one of these campaigns, getting into that and bringing that clarity in a individual, intensive, one-on-one coaching call. So if that sounds interesting to you and you're ready to kind of invest in not only your business, but also your brand and doing this the right way, go and check out and book a one-on-one coaching call with me. Go to the link at crowdcrux.com/coaching. That link is crowdcrux.com/coaching, crowdcrux.com/coaching. We'll take you there, and you can fill out a little bit of information, tell me more about you, what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish, where are you? We're getting to know each other, right? And you can get that call scheduled ASAP. In addition, for some campaigns, a lot of my students actually are always interested in doing more of like a long-term kind of arrangement. So we do talk about that towards the end of the calls sometimes. I also have a lot of clients and students who want to do individual execution, and I do that on a limited basis. If I really like a project, if I really believe in it, I think that I can make a positive impact. We do sometimes talk about that towards the end of the calls, but they are meant to be useful, one-off, individual, and intensive when it comes to moving you forward in your crowdfunding journey, hopefully helping you so that way you can smash through your goals and obstacles and really get something out there that's going to change the world. And again, that link is crowdcrux.com/coaching. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. Again, my name is Salvador Briggman. Hope you took away a lot of great stuff, and I will see you next time.